Should the Bucks feel demoralized, or should the Bucks feel like that wasn't bad, all things considered? Where do they land today?
Yeah, all things considered, I think Milwaukee's got to feel about as good as a team can feel being down 0-1. And there's a number of reasons. First one is Milwaukee's been here before. First series of the playoffs when they annihilated the Heat, the one game they almost lost was Game 1. They needed overtime to beat them. Game 1 against Brooklyn, they lost. Game 1 against in the conference finals against the Hawks, they lost. And so they have been here before. Also, last night, and I'm not blaming the officials, but that whistle absolutely benefited the Suns in a way I don't think it will throughout the rest of the postseason. It's not only that the Suns shot 26 free throws, it's that Milwaukee, aside from Giannis, it was Drew Holiday got one shooting foul, Brook Lopez got one shooting foul, and that was it. So that will even out. But the biggest reason they should feel good is this. There was real trepidation about whether or not Giannis would be back at all. I think most people thought the earliest he would be back was Game 3. And not only was he back, he looked like about 90% of himself, Colin. I don't know how it's possible that we all saw him suffer that injury.
Yeah.
Giannis is not the only one who thought he was out for the year. Everyone thought he was out for the year. And for him to be doing that a week later after having his knee go the wrong way, and for the Bucks, it's like, hey, Giannis played 35 minutes. In those 35 minutes, Milwaukee outscored Phoenix. The 13 minutes he sat, they got annihilated. So I think this is a long series. And I think that if Giannis continues to ramp up, and keep in mind, there's 2 days between games 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I think that works in their favor. I think Milwaukee should feel pretty good and pretty confident despite being down 0-1.
Companies would rather pay you big money for what you will do going forward, not for what you did, right? To make sense. If Chris Paul said, I'm going to take 4 years or not, I'm out. I think there's an argument to be made that you just say, we won, we're still going to be viable, but he's not the future at 36. It's a really interesting debate. There are moments in time where you think, oh, you got to run it back. And I'm like, not if 4 years is what's demanded, right?
Yeah, but I think my guess is he'll end up getting 3 years, $100 million. And even though the owner of the Phoenix Suns has been notorious for, let's call it his thriftiness over the years, Robert Sarver,
yeah,
I think he'll cut that check. If you remember, during the Nash era, the Suns weren't trading first-round picks to get talent. They were selling first-round picks for cash. Like when they could win a title, it's like, no, give me $2 million for the 27th pick of the draft. So there is the Robert Sarver factor. But the other thing is this, if you're Chris, after finally tasting the highest level of success, do you really want to go to the Knicks? Like, is that something you really want to do? Now, Miami, Joy Taylor's ears perk up. Miami could make sense, and Miami, I think, is like a borderline possibility. But I do think they ultimately run it back unless ownership there is, just says, won the title, who cares? And I don't think Chris is going to demand the max. But it is kind of remarkable, Colin, that we're talking about what Chris Paul's next contract is going to be when the owner of the Rockets, Tillman Fertitta, bought the team and reportedly said that Chris Paul's contract is the worst he has ever seen in business or sports. Chris is going to opt out of it at the end of it for more money.
You know, it's interesting. If the Bucks lose this finals, they still probably, at this moment, would be the favorite to get to the finals in the East. If the Suns win the finals, would they necessarily be the favorite to win the West? It just shows you the difference between the West and the East. Like, I don't think the Suns will be favored next year, would they?
No, and listen, that might not be fair to them to give the Suns credit. Now that we have, the benefit of hindsight, we can look at the teams that were the top contenders throughout the year, and the two that are left standing were the two with the least red flags.
Right.
So, Utah's red flag was they're Utah. We've seen them in the playoffs. We know it doesn't work. The Lakers' red flag was health. The Clippers' red flag was a bit of health and a bit of is last year's end going to bite them. That ended up not being the case. Health got them. In the East, Philly couldn't close quarters and couldn't close games. That ended up killing them. And with Brooklyn, it was, are these three ever going to be on the court together? That ended up killing them. Milwaukee and Phoenix, top 10 offense, top 10 defense, relatively healthy throughout the year, just kind of handled their business. So I do want to give Phoenix credit. With that said, I do think folks will say, okay, they played the Lakers 3 games when the Lakers were healthy-ish. Not even fully healthy because LeBron clearly wasn't right. And they lost 2 of those 3.
Yeah.
Then Anthony Davis went down. Obviously, in the conference finals, they go against a team without Kawhi. And then we thought in the finals they were going to go against the Bucks without Giannis, but now he's there. Now, they deserve a ton of credit. And they have an excellent roster. They've drafted well. Cam Johnson's an unsung guy. Mikal Bridges has been great for them. Obviously, Ayton has ascended massively, and Booker's a legitimate star. But the other reason that they wouldn't be the favorites is Chris Paul. The reason he hasn't had massive playoff success has not been because of, meltdowns or chokes, aside from the one game against OKC in 2015. It's because little guys' bodies break down. And he's been very fortunate that his body has not broken down this year. He had the scare against the Lakers, but aside from that, it's been clean. So, yeah, I don't think they'd be the favorites, but they've got to be at least considered one of those top-tier contenders.
By the way, did you watch the match at all? I just saw bits and pieces of it. Why Aaron Rodgers can putt. Did you make anything of the comments?
Yeah. I thought your point was really interesting. And full disclosure, I've only seen the clips of it. I thought it was odd for it to go up against the NBA Finals with, by the way, Barkley involved. It's like the people that love Barkley, aren't they watching basketball? The whole thing was odd. But to set that aside, I thought your points were interesting, which is if you thought, you used the term divorce, if you thought my wife and I were actually like in real trouble, you wouldn't be joking about it with me.
Right.
You would talk to me about it privately. And so the fact that it was in a kind of wink and a nod makes it feel like Aaron knows that he's played his cards and it didn't come out his way. Or he knows, and I don't even know if that's the right way to put it. It almost feels like Aaron knows I could have played a stronger hand, but I didn't want to go nuclear on it. So I made it clear I was a little unhappy. At the very least, I've made Packer fans know that I expect this to be my last year, maybe have a bit of a unspoken farewell. But I no longer think that it's likely at all, Colin, that Aaron is not going to be the Packers quarterback in week 1, even though he was cagey about it last night when he was asked about it.
All right, Nick, well-appointed, well-dressed as always. You look happy and healthy, my friend, and we will talk soon. Thanks, buddy. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.